Thank you for tuning. Gonna be brief with this one. Just wanted to holler at you. You know what I mean? I've been posting some numbers on my um in, in response to my first international, a little tongue tied, little first international awareness campaign, and I was posting numbers for it because for me, I was really with it being international, I wanted to really you know take my time with it. It's gonna be 4 months, so it's no point in really risking a lot on the first post because you know reputation means a lot. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about the difference between total content engagement rate and simplified engagement rate and how it adds value. So this was a great application to differentiate the difference. For me, I'd say because it the post is in English, the primary nation target, English is not the primary language, if that makes sense. So the country that's being targeted with this post, their primary language isn't English there. So for me, not the smart thing to do was to not rush into it and I wanted to, for my own personal, you know, galvanization, so to speak. I wanted to take my time and actually measure and explore how to balance that language differential and what the cause and effects of certain treatments and triggers might be, and get that dialed in first. And to me, I'm sacrificing the first post for that, kind of like on a total content engagement wise, but I'm not really too concerned about that because I'll show you why. Here, look. So Pasha, what are you talking about? Well, you know me. I've got let's say I've got as high as 29% total engagement rate before. Now, industry standard, depending on who you talk to, I ain't gonna say industry standard, but let's say it's widely accepted in the industry that 0.5% to 1% is considered good content engagement. And by all means, if you have a small business or if you're an artist, musician, or a public speaker or a coach or whatever, hit me up. Let's talk about how we can build your awareness campaign as well. So what it is that total content engagement is going to be the measurement of, as you can see in this video, as you can see in this image, it'll be the measurement of your total reach compared to your total engagement, right? So in this one, it's really simple, very niche down, very precise. I knew I'm going after a very precise target on this one, and I dialed everything in. And long story short, with all the details, that's how you achieve 29%. So the industry has advised that good content engagement can be 0.5% to 1% on average. And depending on your source, they may have expanded it out up to 3-5%, something like that, right? But as long as you're in between 0.5% and let's say 3%, you're good. You're in the category of good, right? All right. So when you see a number like 29%, it's phenomenal. So I know the potentials that can be reached. All right. Now, with that being said, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So doing this post, it's part of a 4-month campaign. It's the first one, but it's international and there's a language difference. So for me, I use this as a language difference case study. So I was willing to sacrifice the super high content engagement rate to validate that the message was actually getting across in a secondary or what maybe even a third actual language on their tier, right? So I started off in the beginning making a lot of adjustments, dialing in from the bottom up instead of, a top down type, come in high and tweak to prevent any fall off, because it could have, we're dealing with different cultures. I don't know if I'm making sense to you guys on why I'm so, Virgos are pretty cautious. We're so cautious that we appear suspicious sometimes. But that's, for my mind, it was worth coming in low and then dialing up, because, let's say I get like 2% on this one as total content engagement. The next 11 weeks of posts, I can still balance that out to whatever, you know what I'm saying? 25% for the total campaign. So I'm not really concerned about that. But if I come in too high and it misses everybody, it's going to be a bad look, and then things aren't as good as they could be. So this approach I took is I'd rather build on top of what's there than to crash out the sky. Make sense? Okay. So as you can see, we come in here, I did a couple of reports, but what I was doing is I was focusing on this other metric that most people aren't talking about, right? And that is just what I would call simplified engagement rate. So the total content engagement rate is going to be here, let me go back to the other one to make it clear for you. Total content engagement rate is going to be simply the total post reach, right? So however many people your post actually reaches. So if you do a boost on Facebook, and I know I appreciate you on the free high value here. So if you do a boost on Facebook, shout out to Hassan in the building. So if you do a boost on Facebook and you reach 1,000 people, let's say in this case it was a little over 100, that's your total reach. So think of that like the billboard. Your post is a billboard on I-95, I-85, whatever that major highway is, artery, I-77. So look at it like the billboard doesn't go anywhere, right? It's gonna be planted there. Now, if you count all of the cars that go by, how many people stopped to look up at it? Okay, right? So if 100 cars go by, and of the 100 cars that go by, 30 of them had someone in the car look up at the billboard. Now they're counting that as engagement. As broad as that is, like they just looked up, they saw it going by 75 miles an hour. They don't know what they saw, how they saw, nothing more than that. They just know they saw it. Okay, so you had to reach, which means they went past it in some way, shape, or form. The car on the highway, the car on the road, they went past it. So that billboard reached them. That ad reached, that post reached that person as an audience member of traffic flying by. Did they look or not? That's the first question. Okay. So your total content engagement is going to basically tell you if they saw it. Now, how many things did you see today that you saw, but you really couldn't say shit about what you saw, right? Because you saw it in passing, you saw it and you didn't give a fuck about it. You saw it and you said, fuck that shit. You saw it, right? There's a whole bunch of ways you can see something and it still not mean nothing to you. So your total content engagement is really a mixture of all of that slurry of potential, right? So the cars going by on the highway, right? 100 cars go by, 30 of them look up, and that's all you know, they saw it. Okay, so that's total content engagement. What we've been chasing, a lot of people have been chasing, is that metric there, right? just want to show you that somebody saw it. But what does that mean in the grand scheme of things in the long run, right? Um, that's the question. So total uh is the metric that calculates the sum of reactions, comments, shares divided by the total number of posts published and then adjusted for each, is the technical equation format. But that can be misleading. So the formula for total engagement is, like we said, reactions plus comments plus shares divided by the number of posts divided by the total reach times 100 to give you it in a percentage form. Or if you already know that it's percent, you can just leave it in the 0 point dot 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 dot, right? So that method actually dilutes the actual significance of the post performance in many ways. So it's not accurately reflecting how well the content resonates with your audiences. So in contrast, what I'm looking at in this case, because like I said, it's my first international one. So this is not targeting the United States. This is targeting externally, and then the United States is just like a backup subsidiary bonus for contribution purposes on certain topics within the campaign. All right. So for me, that's why I'm looking at this one today, which is going to be the measurement of, let me show you. And it's really simple. So if you look here, I'm just taking the total number of engagements. Now remember, the engagements is the people that looked up, right? When the car went by, they saw it. So that's an engagement. But of those people that looked up, how many of them had an emotional reaction? That's where the money is. All right. So what I'm doing here is it's the measurement of the reactions, right? Here, and let's say here is 2 days, when compared to the total number of what they're going to call engagements. So it looks like this. 100 cars go by. 30 of them look up. Okay, now out of that 30, how many people had an emotional reaction? Good, bad, supportive, cry, question, whatever, right? Because just like you could walk past the books on a book stand or a magazine stand, you can walk past it, see it, look at it, and like we said, it mean nothing to you. But when you actually engage with it or get some sort of emotional reaction, that's when you know you're the context of your post, the artwork, the copyright is actually how well is it performing, right? When somebody has taken the time to actually digest it. They saw it, that's engagement. But now when they digested it, how do they feel? Did they just leave it or walk away from it at that point? Or was there, how do they feel? So that's what the difference is. And that's simply post engagements. That's the ratio of post reactions to post engagements. So once you get them, it's kind of like if you're selling something, right? 500 people walk past your store today, but only 30 of them come in. So you don't base your close rate when you're doing the math. You don't look at your close rate as, 500 people walk by the store. You really want to focus on, okay, of the 30 that came inside and talked to me about, whatever it is that you're selling, how many of those 30 did you impact to the point where they wanted to buy, or they had some emotional attachment to see what you had to say next? You know what I mean? You don't base it off the 500 that went by and saw your store. And I think that's where that formula loses value, because it's kind of like measuring the 500 people that went by your store and saw it, look through the window. Yeah, they might say you selling cell phones or crystals in there, but they don't know more than that, right? So the ratio of post reactions to post engagements provides a much crisper, definitive view of that, and it emphasizes the quality of the engagement rather than the quantity. All right. So you want to get quality over quantity. You want more actionable insights. It gives you an algorithmic advantage for those who focus on the algorithm, and it really builds a better audience connection. So in this case, like you see here, that's what I was focusing on here. So we went and on this is like the second day of the thing. We had a on regular total CE or CER is going to be total engagement rate as well. I'm defining here. So we went from 120 or 1.26% to 1.55% after I dialed it in, because I pretty much sacrificed the CER or the total engagement rate on the first day of the post, which really had it was down to like 1.0 something percent by the time I got the language. Time I got done playing with the parameters for the language I wanted to get a baseline for. So now it's just growing from there. So the second day went from 0.28 to whatever 26. Then it went, now we're up to 1.55% on the total engagement rate. However, when you look at the what I'm calling the engagement rate of the people who saw it and actually engaged with it, now we're looking at numbers like 48%, 51%. Today we're at 54%, 54.75. So, and you can see that we're up to a 1.75% total engagement rate. So 3 days ago, 2 days ago, that was at 1.08. So we've almost doubled the total engagement rate in about a 3-day window from that start. And then, but the value, the ROI of that, the true value is that by sacrificing that first day, I was able to make sure that the actual engagement rate, look at it, 54.75%. So imagine if you had 100 people walk past your store, but 54% of the people who come into your store, you close on, right? So now you can see the value of what you're measuring in the different applications. So, and part of that is because it's international and they don't speak English there as the primary language. Now you can dial in the traffic for English speaking and stuff, but you're still gonna have a potential. What percentage of that traffic is gonna look at that and say, "Oh, it's English. I'm not worried about it." So some of that's that. But of the people who come in to see what you have in your store, how many are you closing? And we're closing basically 55% right now. So that's pretty strong. That's the difference between total content engagement and then what I'm gonna call just engagement. And tell me what you think in the comments below. All right, I'm Pasha Pava.